Yo, this is Gamer J coming at you today with some old school Magic deck tech. Last week I reviewed my favorite deck, which is more of a top tier. So today I'm breaking up my budget green, which I basically ran in high school. I rebuilt this deck recently for $100. Simple enough, with this deck you ramp mana and drop some big ol' nasties. Your Soul Ring, Wild Growth, Llanowar Elves, Birds of Paradise get you pretty much to 6 mana on turn 3 on a good hand. That allows you to drop anything in the deck. Note that there's no mana vault because everything that's worthwhile costs green mana. Also, there's no Mox Emerald because, again, it's a budget deck and that one card just isn't necessary. If you don't have ramp in your opening hand, odds are you should just throw it back, try again. Also notice that there are no Mishra's Factories. Again, this deck requires as much green mana as possible to thrive. Looking at the creatures, the Force of Nature here is the big nasty. If you're able to get this out early, turn 3, turn 4, and your opponent doesn't have an answer, such as a counterspell or Swords of Plowshares, you're going to be in a great spot. A 4 mana upkeep does sound like a lot, but when you're swinging with an 8/8 trample, you don't care much about playing anything else. Since you can only have 4 forces, Killer Bees step in as the next big heavy hitter. They fly and they pump. This is another great outlet for the mana generation and has surprisingly won me more games than the Force of Nature. Our Growthian Pixies here are a staple simply due to the prevalence of artifact creatures. Juggernaut, Suchi, and Triskelion are all rendered harmless in the face of this tiny, and for some reason not flying, Pixie. The other creatures here are really up to personal flavor. I love the Elvish Archers for the first strike and War Mammoth for the trample. The War Mammoth is admittedly no replacement for the Force of Nature, but it does get work done. Now for the fun part, Giant Growth. Keeping your opponent paranoid of this little bomb means that they'll work hard to play around it and probably be either more aggressive or more conservative than they should be. Lastly, some fun cards to round out the deck. Regrowth is mandatory in any green deck. Bringing cards back from your graveyard, play them again, very strong. Desert Twister sounds like a weak card, but 6 mana for destroy target permanent gives you some element of control in this deck, which otherwise green tends not to have. 6 mana, again, it sounds like a lot, but with this deck, shouldn't be a problem. Titania's Song may seem like a sideboard card rather than the main deck, but it's a Mox Eater. It turns all non-creature artifacts into creatures with power toughness equal to their mana cost. So Moxes, gone. Soul Ring and Mana Vault, 1/1s. Time Vault and Relic Barrier, 2/2s. Yes, a 4/4 Icy Manipulator is a different problem to handle, but it should be easier than having your own creatures tapped down. And Winter Blast is just a fun card I use to open up my opponent for one big final hit. It's just funny, and honestly, no one will ever see it coming. Green does have some great sideboard cards too. Problems with artifacts? Play Crumble and more Pixies. Blue and black bringing you down, you have Tsunami and Life Force. Getting out creatured by White Weenie or Goblins? Fog. And if you want to start upgrading the deck, Berserk is the first card to go to. Okay, here is sample hand number 1, and overall, looks like we're doing pretty well. To start, you have your land in the Birds of Paradise. Turn 2, hilariously enough, you have already set up double Wild Growth. If you're worried about strip mines, you could always split the Wild Growth between 2 different lands, and that gives you a guaranteed 6 mana on turn 3 without even looking to see what's in there. If you don't get one of your big hitters, you still got a 3/3 here you can drop. Good to go. Okay, hand number 2. I don't know what happened to us here. This does not look good. 4 mana is kind of cool, but the only creature we have is Dragothian Pixies. We're definitely not going to get to 6 mana anytime soon without ramp, and Winter Blast just simply isn't needed this early in the game. Throw this garbage back, draw new cards. Okay, this hand is the best possible hand that we could have drawn. This is our guaranteed 6 mana, turn 3 Force of Nature, without even seeing what's coming up next. First land, you can throw Wild Growth on there. You can throw Bird's Paradise, do Bird's Paradise. Untap, upkeep, draw. We can ignore that because we know that we're going to have Wild Growth, Llanowar Elves, putting us turn 3, Force of Nature. Have fun. Good game, guys. Astute viewers may be wondering why I have a two-headed giant in the background of the green deck, to which I say this is more than just a two-headed giant, but also an artist proof. Anson did a beautiful job on this artwork. I also feel that this card represents how players are now taking an interest in either more games or more aspects of collecting, such as artist proofs. With Magic, Sorcery, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Lore Arcana, Flesh and Blood, MetaZoo all vying for our money, personally I'm focused on old school Magic and Sorcery. Money is not infinite, and companies need to treat their customers well or they'll leave. I personally am not a fan of WotC's actions as of late, and I am not buying anything new, but old school still gives me that Magic outlet. God help us all if they actually reprint the reserve list. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Later.